Hey guys, so I'm shooting this part of the video at the beginning here just to get you caught up because I had an SD card crash and I lost a bunch of video that I had recorded with my GoPro. So what I had recorded was my first chainsaw carving. So after I bought the chainsaw, the electric chainsaw, I really just bought it because I wanted to cut off, when I was going on my hikes and I would see all these fresh logs that were just on the floor of the woods. I really just wanted to cut off some sections and just use some sections of logs as stools for my balcony. And I did that, but then I started watching some chainsaw carving videos on YouTube, and I just found a stump and I carved out a mushroom stool. It's basically just a stool shaped like a mushroom. That was the goal, just to carve out something simple. So this is the stump that I found in the woods and decided to carve a mushroom stool out of it. And this is it blocked in, and this is it finished. And here's me showing you the finished product. So the mushroom stool, this is how it turned out. I ended up staining it ended up choosing a walnut stain. The walnut stain ended up being a lot darker than I wanted it to. And like the mushroom stool this is it. And ended up looking a little bit like a phallic shape. And then the stain, I was going for like a wooden walnut color, but as you can see, it looks like more like a chocolate color. But depending on who you are, you may or may not want to use it as a stool. But it is my first carving, and it's a memorable one. I mean, you might look at this and think mushroom, or you might look at it and think something else. But that's just the way the stain came out. It came out darker than I thought it was going to be, and this is the result. So still proud of it, very proud of it, and I'm going to keep it because it's definitely a conversation piece. Okay, so the second chainsaw sculpture that I did, there was a dead tree in the sketchy woods that I found. It was about 70 feet high, and anyway, so that tree, it was dead, but it was really high. I actually cut it down. I cut a wedge and actually, timber, cut the whole thing down, which was probably not smart. But I did that, and I left about 5 feet of stump. So I carved a Christmas tree out of it. I went out every day on my lunch break and basically carved a little bit more, just as much as I had in the chainsaw battery. The battery lasts about half an hour, so when the battery died, I just wrapped it up and went back to work. So after I finished carving the Christmas tree, or when I got to a point where it was still attached to the stump, but it was at a point where I couldn't leave it outside because teenagers going through the sketchy woods would probably wreck it, or somebody would probably try and steal it or something like that. It was getting to a point where it was a pretty nice carving, just sitting in the middle of the woods attached to a stump. So I cut it off the bottom. I cut it down low enough so I'd have a base still. And I actually had to haul it up the ravine, and I hid it. I hid it behind a tree and just covered it in leaves so that I could come back the next day, finish it off, and bring it home. I mean, it was just too heavy for me to lug all the way back home. All right, so now you're all cut up. The tree is buried in the leaves. Here we go. That's where I go to enter the woods, and there's a parking lot right here. So next time, I'm not gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna park my car here with my equipment and just go straight into the woods there. All right, so we're approaching the site of where I buried the sculpture in the leaves. This is the moment of truth to see if it's still there. Okay, it's still there. So it's Friday, and I'm on my lunch break. Today's kind of a special day because I wanted to get this sculpture done before the weekend. So I'm here with my two chainsaws. I brought two because I have the gas powered one all gassed up, and then I brought the electric one all charged up. So I'm gonna unbury it, bring it out to the clearing there, probably finish it on its side, and getting back in time for my lunch break to be over. So here we go. Well, hello. It's Monday, and I have my tree sculpture here in the van, and some sanding stuff. I have, well, this is my electric chainsaw is here, but I have a flap sander, a flap disc for sanding, and some other sanding stuff. I'm at the point now where I'm ready to start sanding this thing. I lost a little bit on the base. You can't see it, it's on the other side. I'll show you in a minute. So I'm probably gonna have to shape the base. I actually had shaped the base like this a couple days ago, but it broke on the other side. I'm not too concerned about it because this is only my second sculpture. Really, it's my first sculpture that is, decent, but this broke, and I was sculpting it from a tree that was kind of dead anyways, so some of the wood was fragile. Anyways, I'm probably gonna have to reshape this base because that broke. But I'm really my goal right now is just to get this thing sanded so I can stain it. And this is all just trial and error. I'm just testing out my whole process, testing out different stains. And the whole process of sculpting, detailing, sanding, staining. And also how I'm gonna fit it into my regular daily schedule on my lunch breaks. So I'm on my lunch break and I'm going to sand this tree. That's the goal today. And I only have about another half an hour before I have to go back. So I'm gonna quickly try and sand this thing, reshape the bottom and sand it, and then just throw it back in the van and get back to work. So here we go. All right, well, that's good enough. I'm not too attached to this thing. I'm just trying to get it done and make it look reasonable. I'm probably gonna keep it anyways. I don't think I'm gonna try and sell this thing because there's too many rotten pieces on it. All right, so I got this flap sander. Now this Black & Decker drill isn't too powerful, but we're gonna see how it works. It's actually not working too bad. It just gives it a light sanding, just gets the burrs off and little hairs and stuff. So I do gotta get back to work, and I forgot my phone, so. Oh yeah, it's after 1, crap. All right, this guy goes back in here. Yeah, that makes a big difference. You can see the difference on the first 4 sections. So today's Friday, and I am not on my lunch break because I have the day off today. So I bought a new wagon, and I'm still working on the Christmas tree. I sanded it with this thing, as you know, and it only gave it a light sanding. I accidentally grabbed oil-based stain, so I was like, okay, I'll just try oil-based. It came out looking like that. It's got this chalky white film on it. I don't know why it turned out that way, and maybe somebody can leave a comment and let me know why, but obviously it's very raw wood. It was a light sanding, so very porous. And now I'm going to sand it with this. I have an angle grinder, and I bought a flap wheel or a flap disc, which basically just has sandpaper pieces on it. And I'm going to sand it with this thing and see how that goes. And I've never done this before, so you're going to see me do this for the first time. I also bought another piece of equipment. I got a jaw horse. It's basically a sawhorse, but it grabs onto things at the top. I also dropped the Christmas tree as I was opening the back hatch of my van earlier today, and it fell out of the van and it broke. The piece broke. So I'm going to try and angle grind that to an acceptable shape. Okay, that doesn't just sand it, it actually takes material off. So you can actually shape the wood with it. Because I stained it with that oil stain, it soaked into the wood, so I do want to take a layer of material off anyway. So not too bad of a job here. Because the angle grinder is kind of bulky, I wasn't able to get into some of the corners. But again, like I said, this is kind of an experimental piece. I'm just experimenting and learning on this piece. At least I'll be able to see how the stain turns out, the stain and varnish. So who knows, it might end up turning out looking awesome, but just testing everything. All right, well, here's the finished product.